Good morning. Grab your coffee, settle in, and let's have a real conversation about that number you've been chasing your entire career. $100,000 for decades, it was the ultimate finish line. It was the gold standard of the American middle class. It meant you'd arrived. You had the house, the reliable car, the annual vacation, and a college fund that actually grew. It was the psychological safe zone. But here we are in 2026, and I'm looking at a set of data that suggests that finish line hasn't just moved, it's been completely erased. Here's the deal. According to the latest Real Purchasing Power Index, that $100,000 salary you're earning today, it's actually worth $79,600 in 2020 dollars. That is a 20.4% drop in just a few years. Think about that. You're working just as hard, maybe harder, you're hitting the same milestones, but your paycheck is missing a fifth of its gravity. In January 2025, we crossed a massive threshold. Cumulative inflation since the start of the decade hit 25%. That was the moment the six-figure dream officially became a mirage. Let that sink in. It's what economists call bracket creep combined with structural asset inflation. You're earning more, so you're paying more in taxes, but your fixed costs, things like your mortgage, your car insurance, and your health plan, have ballooned so aggressively that the disposable part of your income has vanished. You aren't imagining it. You aren't being bad with money. The math of the middle class has simply stopped working. And when the math stops working, the lifestyle has to give. This is where the story gets really interesting. So where's that value going? If it's not in your bank account and it's not buying you that small luxury lifestyle, where did it disappear to? To understand that, we have to look past the glowing headlines of the stock market and look at what's actually happening at the kitchen table. Because right now, there is a massive gap between what the screens are telling us and what the receipts are showing us. And honestly, this is the most important part of the story you need to pay attention to. Let's talk about the reality gap. If you turn on the news, you'll see the S&P 500 hitting all-time highs fueled by the 2026 AI boom. The Coincident Economic Index, which tracks what's happening right now, looks bullish. It looks strong. But look beneath the surface. The leading economic index, or LEI, tells a completely different story. We are currently seeing a negative spread of 7.2% between the two. That is a 3.5-fold widening in just 3 years. It's a divergence we haven't seen at this scale in modern history. Think of it like a plane where the pilot's dashboard says you're at 30,000 feet, but the engines are actually stalling. The stock market is the dashboard. The consumer is the engine. And right now, the engine is running on fumes and credit. Here's a number that blew me away when I first saw it. Total U.S. credit card debt has hit $1.28 trillion. That's a 38% jump. But here is the kicker. People aren't charging Rolexes or trips to the Maldives. They are charging eggs, they are charging milk, they are charging electricity. We are witnessing the rise of the debt-fueled grocery run. Get this, buy now, pay later, the same service people used to use for trendy sneakers, now accounts for 25% of all grocery transactions. 1 in 4 people are financing their perishables. They're paying off last Tuesday's dinner in 4 easy installments. When you're using 22% APR credit to buy bread because your $100 kilo salary can't cover the new floor of existence, you aren't middle class anymore. You are a debt service technician. I know it sounds dramatic, but look at the data. The Federal Reserve's higher for longer policy has locked in a terminal rate. That means your debt isn't just a burden, it's a parasite. The average credit card APR is sitting at 22,030%. That is a 610 basis point jump in 3 years. If you're carrying a balance, you aren't just treading water, you're being pulled under. So if the consumer is drowning in yesterday's debt just to afford today's essentials, who is actually cashing the checks? Who is winning in this environment? The answer might surprise you. There is a new demographic in town, and the retail world has a name for them. The wealthy refugee. These are the people who used to shop at Target, Whole Foods, or high-end boutiques. Now, they're the ones driving the massive growth at deep discounters. 60% of new customers at Dollar Tree earn over $100,000 a year. Let that land. The person standing in line in front of you at the dollar store isn't who you think it is. It's the accountant, the mid-level manager, the person who, 5 years ago, wouldn't have dreamed of buying their luxury coffee at a discount chain. We're seeing a massive trading down of the American spirit. It's not just about spending less, it's about a fundamental shift in brand loyalty. Private label market share for staples has grown by 350 basis points. People are ditching the name brands they've used for decades for the store brand equivalent. Why? Because when your utility bill has jumped 34% and your rent has hit a new floor of $100 a month, that $5 difference in laundry detergent suddenly feels like a lifeline. The ultra-discounters saw this coming. They've pivoted their entire supply chain to welcome this wealthy refugee class. They've introduced multi-price strategies, selling items for $5 or $7, specifically designed to capture the remaining spending power of the collapsing middle class. They are the hidden beneficiaries of this transition. They aren't just selling cheap goods, they are selling survival for people who used to feel prosperous. It's a fascinating, and frankly, a little chilling, evolution of the retail landscape. Now, this is the part I find wild. This isn't just a temporary glitch in the system. This is a structural realignment. We are seeing a 70% drop in the personal savings rate from its 2021 peak. It's sitting at a measly 3.2%. The excess savings from the pandemic era, for 80% of households, they are officially gone. The safety net has been shredded. And the people who thought they were safe because they hit the six-figure mark are realizing that the net didn't include them. We have to ask, is this a new phenomenon, or are we repeating a pattern we've seen before? Let's zoom out for a second and look at history. Because if you want to know where we're going, you have to see where we've been. There's a staggering 82% historical similarity between today's consumer psychology and the 1920s new era. Back then, it was the radio boom. Everyone was convinced that new technology had permanently reset the rules of the economy. Productivity was up, the stock market was vertical, and credit was suddenly available to everyone. It felt like the party would never end. Sound familiar? Today, substitute radio for AI and NVIDIA hype. Yes, the technology is real. The productivity gains from AI are potentially massive, but technology doesn't pay your rent. In 1929, the new era psychology masked a massive buildup of consumer debt and a hollowing out of the working class. The radio didn't save the consumer when the credit bubble finally popped, and AI isn't going to lower the price of your electricity or your health insurance in 2026. Debt always demands a reset. Period. The difference today? Our central banks are unlikely to allow a total deflationary collapse like they did in 1929. Instead, they are more likely to try and inflate the debt away. But here's the catch. That process is exactly what is killing your 100 kilo salary. It's a slow, grinding demotion of your standard of living. It's not a sudden crash. It's a gradual, small luxury sacrifice where you slowly lose the ability to afford the life you were promised. The math is relentless, so we have a choice. We can keep chasing the old milestones, hoping that $110 2020 will finally be the safe number. Or we can look at the map for what it is. If history tells us that debt levels this high always lead to a reset, the question isn't when will it happen, but how much will it cost your family to survive it? We need to talk about the new floor of the cost of living, because that is where the real strategy begins. Okay, let's get pragmatic. The old map is burned. It's time to start drawing a new one. The first thing you need to accept is that there is a new sticky floor for your expenses. National median rent has stabilized at $2,100 and energy costs are up 34% and they aren't coming down. Those are fixed costs driven by grid modernization and energy transitions. They are the new baseline. If you're still using a 2020 budget for a 2026 world, you're already behind. Here's my advice. Ignore the $100 milestone, it's a vanity metric now. Focus entirely on real purchasing power. Look at your take-home after fixed costs and debt service. If that number isn't growing, you aren't getting a raise, no matter what your salary says. We are entering what some call the Great Stagflationary Debt Crisis. In this world, survival isn't about how much you make. It's about how much of your life you haven't already sold to the credit card companies. The resilient consumer thesis you hear on TV? It's half true. People are resilient, yes, but they are also reaching their breaking point. The massive divergence between the stock market and the reality of the consumer is a 100% accurate historical precursor to a reset. Don't let the green numbers on the screen blind you to the yellow receipts in your wallet. The six-figure dream isn't dead, but the version of it you grew up with is. It's time to stop looking at the mirage and start looking at the math. Think about that next time you see your grocery bill or your next buy now, pay later prompt. If the world's largest retailers are pivoting their entire business models to capture wealthy refugees, what does that tell you about the future of your own middle-class status? The game has changed. Make sure you're playing by the new rules. I'll leave you with this. In 2026, wealth isn't about the number of zeros in your paycheck. It's about the number of bills you don't owe. See you tomorrow.